Alright, well I figure right now we'll knock out the home hero as well as the navigation with the GSAP in it. So the first thing we want to do here is start up. I don't know, you would help me. That'll take about 20 seconds or so. First, let's take a look quick at the project. We have the overlay that goes up. We're going to do the overlay today also. We have the overlay and we have this. This is the exact same title we're using, but if we take a look, let's go back, let's go to our project here. If we take a look at the title, we could certainly go in here and split title. We have a span in there for the N because we have an enlarged N. In bar none, the N is enlarged. Now we could go title 1, put a span in here, span, and then title 2, and split the word happening and contact and all of that. We could certainly do that. To me, it would be a pain. So I think the easiest thing that we can do is get rid of this. We're not going to need that. And if we go look at contact pages, we want everything that's in this. We want the get the image. We want the query. We're going to use the styled hero. The only thing we don't want is that. So what we could easily do is copy this, create our own home hero.js, and just paste this in. And now we could get rid of this. And we know it's an H1, right? And we said it's going to be a span. And this is going to be bar. We're going to have an N in a span. And then 1 for the ONE. And we're going to have an H2 like we had in our subtitle. And this is just going to be here. I just did Hartford. So let's take a look. Our wrap, yeah, we want that 100. We want all of that. The only difference is what we're going to do here is let's put this in a div, and we'll give it a class name, and its name, camel case, not class if you used to class in HTML, and we'll just call this title for now. We'll just cut that. Control X, we'll cut that, and we can just put that underneath. And I'm just going to move this in, so looks like we're doing something here. All right, and now what we want to do here, well, first of all, let's go over to our contact hero. I'm sorry, our title. We could take all of this styling. We want the exact same thing, right? So we could take that, bring that back over, and just drop that in here. The only difference is this here. We're going to make this .title, right? Because now that div is technically that wrap that's in the other page. So now we can just paste that in here just so we have our title. Let's just move this over. Now we have that. The only other thing we have here is the span. So let's just add a span. And the span, what do we want? We want color. And what do we want that white. Same thing. We want the mixed blend mode, right? We want to have it doing the exact same thing. And we want that difference. And we want a font size. You can't just have it sitting there. So we'll go font size, and on this we want it actually larger, so I'm going with 18 VWs. You can use rems, figure out what that would be, not really sure. And we know we don't want contact hero, we want that to say home hero. We know we're not going to name our function contact hero, so we got to change that. And then down here we got to export home hero, not contact hero. So now we have that. As far as I'm concerned, to me, this looks done. We have our home hero. We have it. It says bar. We got an N, and we got the N inside of a span. We got this. We got that. Okay, so now let's go and use it. So if we go to our home, let's put it right here. Tab that over. So we'll go home hero. Self-close it. And if you have it, it should self-import. If it doesn't, you just have to go up there and import it. Import home hero from components, home page. And now if I got one error. Let's see what that is real quick. It's ESLint error. Hang on one second. Let me move this up. Title is defined but not used. Yeah, we know that. So we'll go back there and We don't use the title in here, so let's get rid of that so we don't have a warning. It would work fine, but we don't want a warning if we don't have to have it. Just shift delete, we'll delete the line. Okay, so now let's go over to our default starter. There we go. We have it just the way we wrote it up. We got it right in the middle. Hartford, bar none, Hartford. Okay, now for an overlay, what are we going to do here? Well, we know we want it. The only page that we're putting an overlay is going to be here, so we might as well create a folder. Not a folder, I'm sorry. Let me get off of that. We want to create a file, and we'll call that home overlay. Makes sense to me, right? .js. Enter. That's going to be the same thing we've been doing, right? RAFCE. Let's think about what this home overlay actually is. To me, we're gonna want to style it. So let's start with what we've been doing. Start with our import style, and that's from style components. You tab that over, hit end, enter, give yourself a little space. We'll use the same convention, wrap. Right? It's been working out for us. We'll make our constant. We know it's going to be wrap, and that's going to equal, well, style div has been working out for us, so I'm going to keep doing it. If you're using section, that's fine. Let's split our div, and let's think about what we're going to do here. All we want is a div that covers it, right? So let's just go div, enter it. Let's give it a class name. All right, so we'll just call it overlay. That makes sense to me. In here, well, what do we want? We want this whole thing to cover the page, right? So we're going to go with 100 VWs, right? And we're going to want a height 100 VH. And now let's think about what we want here for this overlay. Well, we called it overlay, so let's get our styling going. Overlay, well, I'm going to say we want to position this absolute. Well, and of course I do relative, but we can fix that. It only takes a second. All right, and what do we want? We want it to be, well, the same thing. We want it to have a height of 100% of our container. So say we ever want to go back and make the height of the hero only 50 VH. We could change 50 VH to overlay. It's still going to just be 100%. It would just be 100% of 50 VH, so that makes sense. So make it easy on ourselves in the future if we ever want to do it. So let's just do it that way. Same here. We're going to use a percent because it does have a parent element. And then we'll give it a background color. On this, well, let's give it RGBA. And what do we want? We want it to be white. So let's go 255, 255, 255. And we'll give it an alpha, or the opacity. We'll give it 99. We'll give it a Z index because we want it to sit over the top. Although I don't think it's going to matter. I think we're going to end up putting a margin on this div anyway, but whatever. And we want, again, the mix blend, we want that to be different. All right, so to me, it looks like we have an overlay that is 100% of the width, 100% of the height, so it's going to cover the whole thing. Do that, so let's head on over. And we want it in above. We want to cover it. Home overlay. And I don't know why this didn't self-import, but that's all right. We can just go up there and import home overlay. And that's from components, home page, home overlay. Okay, now if we go over to, well, first of all, let's make sure it's saved and we don't have any errors. If we go over, we have this is our white overlay, and it's sitting on top of our home hero. Exactly what we wanted, except for one small problem. We want it over the top of it. We don't want to see it. So now we have a dilemma here. We can go back and we can redo our stuff, and we can start messing around with position relative, position absolute, blah, 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 this and that. I think we can accomplish the exact same thing on our home hero. In one line of code, what we can do here, we'll go margin, top. We'll just go up. We're using 100% in VH, right? All right. Accomplish the same thing. Okay. there it is. Now we have our hero image underneath our overlay. You can see that our mixed blend is working. Fantastic. So now what do we need to do next? Next we need to do our navigation. So navigation, I had already pointed out, we're going to put in layout. So we're going to put our nav bar and our footer. So we'll do both of those now. And we'll do that right here. So let's create file in here called, well, nav bar works for me. And it's again .js, and we can do our RAFC. Okay. This is two buttons up top. One's an open button, one's a closed button. And what one does is one just fades out and disappears at the exact time the other one comes in, and that happens as soon as this is finished, then it morphs over into close. Menu on the way out and slides back over. So we know we need two buttons and we need a nav with links in it. So we can go in here and let's go, we'll give it a div and we'll call it button box. Tab that in, we'll go in here, and I know I'm going to need two buttons, right? One open and one close. So I can go button, close, tab that over, that'll give me this button here. And then we could do another one for open. We'll call that open. And tab that in, okay. Then underneath it, we have a nav, and within it, we have an ordered list. And we have list items, but we're not going to put that. Now you're going to find out in a minute, because what we're going to map through that. So we can tab that, and we can split that, because we know we have that. Okay, now we also notice, if we look back, that these are icons. So you got to deal with that. Now we can do that a number of different ways. You go to Font Awesome, you can get icons from wherever you get them. But what we're going to do here is close our terminal. So Control C, Command C, and we're going to install npm install. Do a -s save so it's local, and it's called React Icons, and that gives us all the icons. So we can use Font Awesome, or we can use Material, or you can pick whatever icon you want. And while that's installing, let's go over to React Icons. You can find that at reacticons.github.io. Now I know which ones I'm using. If you want to use a different one, like say if you want this colored one, go ahead. It's your world, man. I'm Bob Rossing you right now. All right, so once that's installed, we can go through. I know I'm going to, well, let's see what I got here. Let's go import. You have to put them in here. Well, let's go back for 1 second. Let me just show you something. Now, if you go up here, it shows you how to use them. We installed it. Just want to make sure you guys understand where this shit's coming from, that I'm not pulling this out of my ass. Okay, so we're importing the name of, well, in this case, home here, MD home. So you import it. You use it as a component, which it is, and you import it from React in whichever library it's from. Like if you use Font Awesome, it's going to be from FA. If you use Material Design, it's going to be MD. So hopefully that makes sense, and you can use that, and you won't be leaving me a comment saying how the hell did you get these. All right, so I'm using MD contact phone for the contact page, and from MD I'm going to put the same library on the same line. So here now I'll go MD home. I use Material Design for home, and then that's going to be from, well, that's React -icons. And what library is that? Well, that's MD. And what am I doing here? Import. That's not going to work. All right. And then for the next one, well, import. Get your brackets going. So I use GI, and I do remember that it's shattered glass because it's the only glass I could find. Yeah, that's going to be React icons. And that's obviously going to be a /GI. That's the library. And then the only other one I need is I used Go icons, and I believe it is calendar. And if it's not, we'll just go take a look. But we'll take a shot at it. And it is calendar. Constantly writing calendar with an A. And again, that's from React.icons. And you can probably guess that that's going to be Geo. Okay, so we should have our icons in. If not, we'll go back and fix it. Now, we could go down here, we could put our icons in. We could, our anchor tags, a list with anchor tags and our icons. But we're not going to do that. We're going to put all our links in an array. And then we're going to use something called, a method called map. And we're going to map through them. If you want, you can just go straight in and just drop anchor tags. I mean, feel free if you're not. If not, you want to learn something, we can do that too. All right. So we'll make a const, we'll call it links. And we're going to set that to an empty array. And, well, the array is going to be a list of objects, right? Now, when we map through something, we need in a unique identifier that we call key. I just think since we're building it out ourselves, we might as well just give everything a unique ID, right? So we'll do ID. I'll show you here. That's the key. This is the value. You have to put a comma, next line. So, and we'll go with path. Well, what is the path? Well, you write exactly what it is, because we're going to be inserting this in our component, in our list item. So the next one here, we got icon, right? You need the icon. And, well, this is home, so we'll go up top here, and we're going to place that in there, and you use it, which I showed you, as what it is. Let's get that comment in there now, because I know I will forget it. And of course I do it like that, because I'm half-baked. All right, now in here we can size it right now, because it's going to take this whole line and insert it. And since you could size it in line, when we map through, it's going to take this line and insert it as if we had written it down here in our code. So might as well size it now, and I think 50 pixels will be fine. If not, we'll come back and fix it. And then the last thing we may want is, well, if we don't put one in, you know, Lighthouse will scream at us. Google won't like us, so we'll just put in an array label for each of them, and we'll do a home page. So let's do one, or you can go through and do one do 3 more. Leave menu out of it right now, and let's go in and get the drinks, the events, the calendar, and the same thing. Make sure you are using the proper icon here, and fill all that out. Get your array label set, and then we'll map through this, and we'll be done with our menu. Then we'll just put the GSAP on it. All right, see you in a couple minutes. I had this. I saw this right away. This was faded out. If you import something and you don't use it, it doesn't brighten up like it does here. So right away I knew something was wrong, and I'm sure you guys saw, well, do what I just did there, type something wrong. Okay, now I'm using that, so now I know, and here it is. Okay, so if you ever see that, you know you misspelled it, or, well, it doesn't match whatever, because if I misspelled it down here it would work, but regardless. Okay, so now what do we want to do? What we did here is we have a list of objects. Each one is its own object. This is one link. This is another. This is another one. All right, so what do we want here? We want to map through this list of links. Well, we called it links, so let's do links. And there is a method called map, and it does exactly what it says. It's going to map through. Now, we're going to map through it, and we want each link to, well, we'll fill this in 1 second. We want, whatever happens here, we want it to return. For each one, we want a list item, and inside of it, we want a link. We want an anchor tag. Okay, now what do we eat? If we're mapping through links, it's going to take each object. It's going to go through one, and then through the next, and then through the next. Well, what are those? I'm going to call them each item in the array. You can call it a link if you want, if that makes more sense to you, but we use the map method a lot, so to me, I just always use item, and I know exactly what that means. That means each one. So what this is saying is for each one of these in this array, we are going to create a list item with an anchor tag. And that's what it's going to render. We're not going to see that here in our code, but that's what it's ultimately rendering for us. It's given for each item, each object, it's given us a list item and an anchor. Now, we know we need an href for each item in here, so, well, we can't do that, right? Because they can't all be the same. So we don't do that. And what do? Well, we need a path. So for each one, we want its path. They're different for each one. So what we can do is we named each object an item. So for each item, as it maps through, we can put in item.path. And what that's going to do is it's going to take the path each time it goes through. So it'll go through the first one first. It'll take its path in its list item. And it will insert /. Now here, we don't have text, or we could have text, and we could put item.text, but we don't. We have an icon. So we're going to do the same thing, item.icon. So for each object, it's filling this out as it goes through each object. So we need the path, we need that. Now, to be compliant, we do have an ARIA label. And what is that? Well, we just called it ARIA label, right? Well, that's not going to work. What the hell, man? God, I'm exhausted. All right, so we have the path, we have the ARIA label, and we have the icon. So for each link in links, or each item in links, each object, it's going to go through and it's going to fill this out and give us one. And that's exactly what we want. Now, map is like your spouse. It wants to know where you are at all times, keep track of you. It's just nosy. It's overbearing, whatever. So it needs to know where you are, and it does that by us supplying the key, telling us who we are, where we are, who, what, where, when, and why. And that goes on the outmost element in the map. So we wouldn't put it here on the anchor tag. We're going to put it in here. And what the key is a unique identifier. And in this case, that's why we added ID, right? Each one has its own ID, and it's unique to itself, so it knows exactly who this is, so it can keep track of it. That's all. Just wants to keep track of it. So now, as far as I'm concerned, we have, give me a little space up here. I like to separate my sections here. We have our links. We have our buttons, and we map through them each. And so now we have an LI, which, if it helps you to think about it, we have this right here. One for each. So that looks good. So now what do we want to do? I know what I'm going to do. And hopefully you do it with me. Hang on, I had shut down my thing. We're going to go over to Gatsby. And up here, Gatsby has something called link. So we're going to put in here. I know it exists because I use it all the time. We're going to put in Gatsby link. We're going to search for Gatsby link. I'm going to say, all right, well, what's this Gatsby link? Well, it's for internal navigation. That sounds like that's what we're doing as a built-in link component. Okay, cool. Well, what is it? Gatsby's link component enables linking to internal pages as well as a powerful performance feature. I don't know. Whenever I hear a powerful performance feature, right away my ears perk up. I love it. Called preloading. All right, interesting. Preloading. Well, what is that? Well, preloading is used to prefetch resources so that the resources are fetched by the time the user navigates with the component. All right, sounds like it's getting them ahead of time. I like that. That sounds good. That should be pretty powerful. We use an intersectional observer, always cool, to fetch a low priority request when a link is in a viewport. All right, so it sounds to me like they're using intersection observer to fetch a low priority request when the link is in a viewport. Why would I think that? Because that's exactly what the fuck it says. And then, this is pretty cool. And then they use on a mouse over event to trigger a high priority request when it is likely that a user will navigate to the requested resource. What I read through that, and again, I'm half retarded, but I see it as when a link is shown, if someone's even going near it, hovering around it, it starts triggering a high priority request when it's likely. It's reading minds. That's what I get, and I love that. If I can have links that are reading minds and getting shit ready, I'm all in. That's what makes Gatsby seem really snappy, is that internal navigation. Now, to get that is very simple, because again, it is a component offered by Gatsby, so it's a core feature. So all we do here is we import link, and that's from Gatsby. We know that, right? It just told us. And the only thing we have to do is swap out our anchor tags, well, for link. It's a component coming from the library or from the core Gatsby. And there's one difference. It doesn't use an href. It just uses to, which is readable. It's a link to this path. Fantastic. Now this is done. So what are we going to do? Well, we want it on every page. Are we going to put our nav bar on every page? No. If we remember, and we only hit on it shortly, we have a component called the layout component. If we wrap our pages in this component, everything that's in this component gets rendered and displayed on the page. It sounds good to me, so I say we import our nav bar, and it's right here in this folder, so we only got to go to it. So we just do a dot slash instead of a dot slash, and there it is. And we want it right here up top, because don't forget, when you're building these pages, when we're building these pages, this is still following a natural flow. So if you put a footer on top of a nav bar, it's going to display and block in a natural flow of a page. So unless you correct that, you just build them one on top of another, like a typical box model. All right, so now we have that. That should be on every page. Problem is we don't have layout on every page. We only have it here. And I have ARIA labels not defined, so I got to go back and fix that. I'm sure That's no problem. But the only one that we have it on is layout. So let me fix this error quick, and then we can do ARIA label and ARIA label, what am I? Oh, this is item. That helps, right? But you guys already caught that. So back to where I was here. So this is wrapped. Our homepage is wrapped in layout. So we should see our nav bar on our home. And there it is in all its glory. Look at that beauty. Fantastic. This is 2 buttons up here. It's hard to see, but there's 2 buttons there. And our nav. And I'm not sure if this cuts off. Sometimes I was looking at the other video. I don't know why. I have it all set up where it should all be YouTube size. But anyway, I'll fix on that. But there it is in its glory. 2 buttons and that. So hopefully this is showing. I won't know till I render it, but I'll deal with it after. All right. So we have that. So now what do we want to do? Well, we want to style it. And we want to throw GSAP on it, and we want to get GSAP on our overlay. So we'll do that next. I hope you guys got that. Go through right now and import layout, as we do here on the homepage, and get rid of the divs, because it can still only use one parent element, and now that's going to be layout. We're going to wrap our pages in layout. So you're going to put layout here. You're going to import layout. That will give it the nav bar. We'll come back. We'll hit a quick little footer, which is just some more icons. Do the GSAP and all of that. So finish that on these. Just take a look at exactly what's in index as your guide, which I'm sure you guys can import layout and put it here on each page. And I'll see you in a minute. I'm sure you guys had no problem wrapping your pages in a layout component. Now, I had my first dilemma as far as making this video. I'm trying to keep them all about a half hour long, and I wanted to knock out the nav bar and get the overlay done. And I was looking at it. I want to go pretty deep into GSAP and React hooks, just so you guys know, again, what the hell is going on. So I had to cut a corner here, and what I did is I came in and I imported style components, which we've been doing. Here, let me pull this down here so you get a little more space on that. Okay, so I imported style components, as we've been doing throughout this. I changed that div into the convention we've been using, which is just to name it wrap our parent div for our component. I created the style div, just like we've been doing, making sure to have both backticks. I obviously have the backticks, split the backticks, and I put the CSS styles in. And it's pretty straightforward, so you can pause it and just copy it. I just wanted to save some time as far as video time. It's only about 8 different things. A couple things I will just point out. Obviously, we want this fixed, top left. Z-index of 1 probably does not matter. On width, I went with 17.5 VWs, and this is going to be on large screens because I do use a media query to 50% on smaller screens because I think it looks better. That's up to you. I did this because this is what works with the header. So then everything else in here is pretty self-explanatory, and then the nav, we're hiding it. So I want it to have 0 width, but I do want it to have, I want it to be 100% of this container, you know, its parent container. Same thing here with the UL. We want that to be 100% of its parent container, which is the nav, which is 100% of that. I'm sure that all makes sense. The style, that's self-explanatory. We don't want any padding, flex, direction, column. We want to space the links evenly centered. Okay, you get that. Margin top 50 just to drop it down a little bit. White decoration, none. Solid. Again, this is all just my preference. You can, you know, obviously you can on a hover, you can do whatever colors you want. Borders, you can mess around with this stuff. You guys know your CSS, I'm sure. Okay, so that being done, that is all I did here. So now, if you come over and you look at our project, your keen eyes, without me saying anything, your keen eyes would have picked this up because you guys are smart. You guys use alcohol responsibly. You stay away from sexual partners that may infect you with mind-eating syphilis, things of that nature. So I'm sure you guys picked up on that. So here you can see our nav bar with the styles, and that's slid off to the side and hidden right now. Obviously, we want this to go up, so what we're going to do is we're going to use a little GSAP, GreenSock. If you don't know, GreenSock is it's an animation library, but it's more of an animation platform. They have APIs. I mean, there's really not much as far as animation that you cannot make with GSAP. Now, we're going to go in depth in this when we do the GSAP on a nav bar because it's much more detailed. On this overlay, the only thing we're doing is we're taking it from 100% height and we're going to use GSAP to bring it to 0, revealing our home hero underneath it. Let's get started. So we'll go over, again, stop. If this is still running, Command-C, stop your terminal, and let's put in what it just said, npm install, well, GSAP. We enter that, that will go through. We have GSAP, so let's head on over. That's going to take a second. It's not the biggest library, but it's not the smallest library. Well, we know we're going to use it, and we think to use it in overlay, but we're not going to use it in overlay. What we're going to do is we're going to put it in the index page where the overlay lies. And to do this, we are going to, well, we're going to use GSAP. So we know we want to import GSAP, and where? From, well, GSAP. We're going to use effect. Now this is a React hook. Now, this index page came with the Gatsby starter. You're going to have a parenthesis there. You want to switch that out. This one and that to brackets. And that's going to allow us to put functions within this functional component. So we have use effect and we have GSAP. First of all, we know we want to use effect, right? And that is a function. And it's going to return. Oh, sorry about that, guys. Okay. What do we want to do? We want to bring in GSAP. What we like to do is we like to make a variable, a constant, TL, and that stands for timeline, because that's what we're going to be using. We're going to be using GSAP timeline. It's going to be GSAP, and that's dot timeline. So we have our hook, which allows us to put this in here. We have our timeline here on hooks. You always want this. Just let me point this out, and I'll go over this when we go over hooks. This is where you want to put dependencies to the hook in here. We're not going to have any, and this will, Gatsby will actually give us a warning for having that there. So to get rid of it, we're just going to get rid of our array. All right, so now we want to go TL. Well, we know that stands for GSAP timeline, right? We're going to go to, and I'm going to explain this to you in a second. We know it's the overlay, the home overlay, but we're not going to throw in the whole component. We gave it a class name for a reason, so we know it's overlay. So you give the element, then a comma. You give the duration of the animation, and we don't want 0.5 because that makes no sense at all, so we'll do that. And then you put a comma, and then you're going to put what the animation is. So build your constant. This is GSAP in a nutshell for timeline anyway. You decide if it's to or from. We're going to, and I'm going to explain this in 1 second. But what do we want to do? Right now we know, if we look over at our overlay, all right, here's our overlay. We know that we have 100% height, right? Well, we want it to go up to, well, 0, right? So let's get 0 in there. Okay. Well, this will work. So if we start up our timeline, our project, start up our dev server, this will work. I take a second. Computer's running slow. What's going on here? No, it's already done. All right. So if we go here and we refresh this, that's going to go up. So go up every time someone comes to the page, boom, 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 just goes straight up. The second it starts rendering, boom, goes up. Well, that's kind of cool, but that's really not what we're looking for. There is something called a delay. Well, let's go over to green sock. Take a look at what's going on here. All right, let's hit the docs. We want to ease that. We don't like the way it's going. We want to put a little bit of style on that. We don't need much. It's just an expo reveal overlay. So let's go to docs and let's take a look. So we got GSAP. We're in that tween timeline. We know we're in timeline. But here's something called eases. Let's check out eases. Well, look at this. They have a visualizer with their different eases. Here they are. Power 1 follows this curve. All right. Power 2. Power 4 explodes out of the gate. Bet on that horse. Power 3. Okay, we got elastic. You see what's going on here. You got bounce. Bounces in. I don't know. We got rough. I don't know when you would ever use that, but I'm sure you guys are geniuses. You can come up with a beautiful use case for that one. Okay, so you get the point. Steps. I think that's pretty cool. I can use that. We're gonna use Expo. I think for revealing something, kind of starts and then. I like it, but you can use any one you want here. Here I'm going to use that. So we can use it just like you would CSS. Ease is, well, it's going to be Expo, and just like you have in and out. So well, we want it going out. So it makes sense to me that if we come over here and we say, all right, well, we want an ease. You have to put in out. And obviously it's going to be camel case. So if someone navigates to the page, starts right away. It kind of bothers me, so what could we do? Well, let's put a comma here and let's put a delay on this. Alright, so here, see, it's going to wait that 1 second, let that load, and then we're going to have the animate. But once that's done, now our navigation's working. Even though it's off to the side here, kind of hidden away because we haven't done anything to it. Another thing here is one last thing up here. I like my contact to be a different color. So up here you can also put in styles. And for that, you can style it how you want it. So let's say you wanted a color. Like maybe 233, 740. I just like my contact to stand out. I mean, we put call to action buttons and everything all over our web pages. I think contact is very important. We want people to contact us. All businesses do. So we give this, well, this would help just to change that color. And there it is. It's a little darker. Just differentiate it between the other ones. And that is it. I'll see you tomorrow. I hope this all made sense and you get something out of it.